Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel. And I gotta say it every once in a while, please subscribe and hit that like button if you like what you see, and then comment below, let me know what you thought. Today's video is going to be brake job all the way around on an 03 Subaru Impreza Outback Sport. It's pretty straightforward for the front. The backs are drum, so there's going to be a lot of springs that are going to fly all over the place, but the fronts are pretty simple. I'm going to start by taking these two bolts out here on the guide pins. I already broke them loose, and then this will swing forward and out. And what you want to do is inspect the guide pins in here and make sure you got clean grease and the guide pins aren't all marred. Let's take a look. Might as well go grab a pry bar. Oh, there we go. And set that right there for a minute. And the brakes just slide right out. And these guide pins just kind of suction cupped on there with these rubber boots. So there's still plenty of grease in there, and the boots are still nice and pliable, so those are good to go. They move nice in there. We'll throw a little bit of extra grease on the contact surfaces here where the hardware is. Pop new ones in just like those pop out. And that would be it if we weren't changing rotors also. So I'll take off the bracket with two bolts here. And then these are floating rotors because they're called floating rotors because they float over the studs. Not any other reason. You know who you are. So like I said, it's just these two bolts next. I had a little bit of trouble getting this bolt out. It still doesn't want to come out of this knuckle all the way. At least not very easily, but it's free now. And we can get this off, and the rotor floats off. And we can clean up the new one and pop it on. You want to clean up the new ones because they're covered in a machine oil called Cosmoline that keeps them from rusting on the shelf. So unless you've got a coated rotor, you're going to want to get some brake clean to get the oil off of these. New clean rotor goes on. Ow. There you go. Bracket goes on. And then I'll have to set this down. But yeah, slide the bracket on and tighten those bolts up. Tighten these guys up, and then we can slap in some new hardware. Pop in the new hardware. Just kind of wiggle them in to align the little tabs. And they should pop right into place. A little bit of fresh lube for the contact points there. Don't get any on your rotor. But this helps the pads slide back and forth without catching on anything. And I got a little lube on the ears of the pads also. Line them up here. Might have to do a little compressing. I'm gonna have to set you guys down here. Alright, let's see. Slide the back one in the same way. Now these are kind of spring loaded, so you just got to push against them to get them to fit in. Nope. Boom. Just like that. I'm going to throw a little grease right here where the calipers were touching, and a little bit right there where the pistons were touching. You shouldn't really need it because of these shims they put on the outside. They're supposed to help get rid of any vibrations you'd experience from that, but better safe than sorry. Now it's time to compress the pistons, and whenever possible I use the old pads, and C-clamp. I might have to grab the big guy. Clamp in place, just slowly give it a couple turns at a time. Until you get those pistons pressed all the way in. Now's a good time to pop the reservoir cap too, so that can breathe, and you can keep an eye on it if it starts to overflow. Now that those are all compressed in, we can slide them on here. Hopefully that's enough. Oh, plenty of room. And yeah, so see these flat spots on this? I don't know if you can see from there, but there's flat spots on these guide pins, and they need to line up with this flat piece of casting. Keeps it from, the guide pin from spinning around while you're trying to tighten the bolt. That's on now, we just got to put the bolts in. Tighten these guys up, and then we're done, and we can move on to the back. And when we do all 4 tires, then we can press the pedal in a few times, and that will collapse all the calipers back onto the rotors. But for now, I'm going to put this tire back on, set it on the ground, move to the other side. I'm only going to show you guys one of each side. Alright, now on to the backs. You're going to need to put your back tire in the air, obviously. If you do one at a time, you can keep the other back tire chocked, but you're going to want to chock the tires either way. I've got the fronts, and I've got the extra jack there holding it up. No, you're not supposed to do it that way, but I don't care. This is pretty dusty. Blow it out real quick. Watch out, Ian. Okay, so something I want to point out. Let's take a look real quick, actually. I already did the other side, and this one's not nearly as bad. There is a couple pieces, but right there you can see the sensor, and it's supposed to be an air gap in between there, but there's a couple pieces of debris closing the gap. The other side was way worse, like it was built up all around it, and he was saying that he was having some issues during braking, like the ABS is kicking on maybe before it should. That might have something to do with it, or maybe he's just driving too hot. So you're going to want to take a picture or do one side at a time so you can refer to the other side, and get yourself a pair of vice grips. I'm just gonna take the springs apart, and I usually set them on the ground in the order, like in the orientation they were taken off. And we'll undo, there's a small bottom spring, we'll undo that the same way. That one's a lot simpler. And these guys you can just do with your hand, kind of push in and a quarter turn, and that's it. Some of them are a lot harder than that, but on the Subaru, it's pretty easy. And spread apart the bottom. And careful not to mess up these rubber boots. I'll try this side. There we go. As for this guy, it's pretty simple. Just pull back the spring, and if your camera's not in the way, it's pretty simple. But yeah. And then what we'll have to do, if you didn't buy a new one of these, this can be purchased as a separate kit, but it's usually not necessary. It's just a hard part. You got to pry this open. This little clip will bend open just enough, and then this will slide off of the peg. You'll transfer it over to the new one. I used some pliers or some vice grips just like this, and just kept squeezing it until it finally popped off. Let's see, okay. So we'll get it in there like that, and then just, it's way easier without a camera, but I was trying to show you guys. Almost, but yeah, just keep prying at it until that guy slips off of there. Okay, so one has a longer stud. That's going to be the one for the e-brake lever. Trying to do this without getting your fingers pinched and on camera. You guys get the idea. Okay. So let's see here. And that's a new one, right? It's not an old one. So what I did on the other side is this will go, I believe, on that far hole, and so will the other one, and that's how it was when I pulled it apart anyways. And then this one hooks onto the back of there. We'll get that one put in place. We'll stretch this one over. Now we can put in these side pins. Kind of, well, maybe not yet. I'm gonna throw some lube in this guy and put this in first. So this extra notch is gonna face out. That will go in like that. Okay, now we do a little more stretching again. Take this spring and notice these spots here are to clearance this gear. So that'll give you a clue too. You ever get mixed up or forgot to take a picture, those gaps usually need to go towards the gear. Now we can put these on. Actually, it's a good time to put this on before we try to force on another screw, or another spring, I mean. I got this camera between my legs. So just make sure you got those 90 degrees to the slot, like that one, and like that one, and you're in. Now we can attempt to put in these last couple springs. Is your bottom spring? Still got to put the bottom spring in. We're going to grab onto her first. Hook one around the back side and bring this one over to the front side. So of course you want to inspect them. These aren't terrible. They're not even really bad. I can't feel a thing. So we're going to reuse those. Now let's see if I can get this on. First we got to put the other spring in. and this other piece. We're not ready to adjust brakes yet. So that second groove is for this guy. And that will reach over to that far hole. Boom. Now we can start closing in the gap. Someone's not happy. Oh, that's almost too tight. Yeah. Usually though, yeah, that might be a hair too tight. So to make the pads go smaller, you reach in here, pull this guy away from the wheel so you can spin it down. And then we probably didn't need to go that much because I almost had it on already. So yeah, so we do want some drag, so that was too much. So just like that, it kind of scuffs on the way in, but it's not holding it up from spinning, and it's not rubbing super harsh. It's probably, doesn't even sound like it's really touching at all, but if I were to go any bigger, I wouldn't be able to get it on, which kind of indicates I probably got a little bit of a lip. I don't know, maybe barely. I can't even really feel a lip. But it's enough to make that much of a difference sliding it on. And that's how close you want to be, if not a hair closer. But they are self-adjusters, so hopefully they'll do the rest on their own. And get this tire slapped on. And that is how you change front and back brakes on an 03 Subaru Impreza Outback Sport. Thanks for watching, guys. I did it a little differently this way. This time I only did one side of each one, and I practiced on the other side before I did the one I filmed for you. So let me know how it turned out and what you guys think. All right, thanks for watching. See you later.